All right. Hello, hello. Got everything together in time. Thank goodness. If anybody's out there, say howdy. Say hello. There you are, Chris. What's going on? Got it all together finally. It's funny. To me, the wall coloring looks different than on my computer anyways than it does in real life. Hey, Amanda. All right. No, we moved Lydia upstairs, so I took over what used to be her room. It is now going to be kind of like the office / workout room / hold on. So because of that, I have a new partner that I'm sharing my space with. So Lydia went upstairs and Puddin stayed downstairs. So occasionally I will probably have a little friend joining me on my feeds. I rudely woke her up, so I'm going to go and put her back. Yeah, she's a really good rat. She's actually potty trained. She uses her litter box, and she keeps her stuff very clean. So, like I said, a little bit early, so we'll get a few minutes. Although I was enjoying this weather today, Amanda, did you get any planting done? Or your repotting and stuff like that? Oh, that's cool to know. It actually seems a little cleaner. Awesome. Yeah, I know. I'm still keeping my plants inside or under the porch at least, under covering of the porch. That way, if it freezes, they're at least underneath. Awesome. Well, shoot. Now that kind of doesn't make me want to hang something in the background because I'm worried. I got the pups out to the cemetery to run around. Awesome. Well, it says I got 4 people watching. So whoever else is watching, hello. Does the background look purple to you? Because to me, like from the computer angle, it kind of looks like a bluish color. Basil the Siberian hamster, yes. Put Basil in the ratatouille. So. Let's see, I'll check, make sure I got all the feelers out to let everybody know that I'm going live. Make sure I messaged everybody. Buddy. Yeah, that was definitely a funny episode. Hey Mason, what's going on? How's the weather in AZ? $90, nice. Yeah, we got up to I think like high 50s or low 60s today, and then I think we're supposed to get to freezing tonight. So that'll be interesting. Looking forward to that one. Never mind, it's 100. Dana would be upset that she's not there, being a part of that. That is definitely her weather. We're supposed to be like in the 70s this weekend, and hopefully no rain for like the first time in, I don't know, a month. Actually, we didn't get rain today either at all, so that was nice. But give this a few more minutes, and then we'll get started on everything. Like always, I'm going to say probably like the exact same thing. It kind of looks like a lot of material, but I don't know how fast it'll read, so we'll see. Looks like a cloudy sky. Oh, that's kind of neat. Yeah, it's actually like a light purple, I think, or it's at least some kind of a purple. I don't know. I'm with me being colorblind, it's kind of hard to tell. But through like through the screen there through the camera, on my screen at least, it looks kind of bluish. All right, we'll give it about 2 more minutes. I'll see Mason. I see you're the first one in out of the family again. I don't see anybody else in yet. You know, we're going to have a talk with the family. Yeah, like I said, Chris, now I don't know if I want to hang something in the background, because if the background looks good, then it makes me kind of wary. All right. Give it 1 more minute. We'll get started on service dogs and all that other jazz. Let's see here. All right. Hey, Chris, you enjoying yourself a nice cold one? All right, here. All right. Guess we will go ahead and get started. It's about that time, the usual 5 after, and I like to try to get started. So today's topic is service dogs versus everything else. And basically why I'm saying it versus everything else is because it has become such a big thing now that people are trying to pass off everything as a service animal. It's gotten so ridiculous that people are trying to take freaking peacocks and all kinds of crap on planes and different places of business and saying, this is my service animal. It's my service animal. I have to have it. I have to have it, and you have to let me in, have it by law, which, just made everything go out of hand. So because of that, it's making it hard for people who actually need service animals or service dogs to get them in places without being harassed. Because they're afraid that they're going to become essence of lavender. Because they're afraid that if they say no to somebody and their service animal, that they're going to end up on as Facebook and Twitter sensations as being some jerk that wouldn't let some poor person in with their service llama, and all that kind of crap. So that's kind of why I wanted to talk about this. That and because I get asked questions about this all the time, and so I figured it'd be a good topic. So everything that I'm going to, but everything else is basically anything that's not a service dog, therapy dog, emotional dog, comfort dog, whatever. Anything that is not considered under the service dog title. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And everything that I'm talking about under this, you can actually go to the ADA site and look this information up. I will actually, if I try to remember, I will put this in the description where you can find it with the ADA. Because there's a few things that I didn't put in here because like the listing of disabilities and just some things were a little bit redundant. So I just kind of, so there's everything isn't in here. This is just kind of get you the gist of everything that's going on. So, excuse me. So we'll just go ahead and get started. So service dogs. So beginning March 15th of 2011, only dogs are now recognized as service animals under Titles 1 and 2 of the ADA. It used to be that miniature ponies or horses or whatever used to be considered that, but for some reason or other, they now have removed the miniature horses, and it's just dogs now. Now, Titles 1 and 2 cover dogs. Title 1, just in case anybody wants to know, is just a bit of trivia, is about the humans' rights. It has nothing to do with the animals. It has to do with the humans' rights under the ADA. So, all right. What is a service animal? Service animal is a dog that is individually trained to do work or perform tasks for someone living with a disability. So that is just the straight up definition from the ADA. That is what a service animal is. They have to perform a task, whether it's for the blind or the hearing impaired or something. They have a job. Psychiatric dogs are actually considered service dogs as well. They're under that heading. And psychiatric dogs are service dogs that assist with mental and emotional health issues or learning disabilities, and they have the same rights as a service dog. They just have a slightly different title just because of what they do. So those are pretty much like the two main ones. There's a couple other ones underneath it. Like I said, you can go to the ADA and break that out a little bit more if you need, if you're interested. Now, service dogs are working dogs. They're not pets. According to the ADA, they don't consider them as a pet. They are a working animal. When they're out there, they have a job to do. They're not supposed to be out there goofing around and playing around. People aren't supposed to be touching all over them. They're working. They have a job. Just like everybody else, they have to earn their keep. So service dogs are considered working dog, not a pet by the ADA. So because of that, that's why they are able to go under certain regulations more so than others. So now, service dogs, they must be trained to perform a task that is directly related to the handler's disability. So with that being said, like I said, CNI dog, they need to be trained to help a blind person get around, and keep from stepping off a curb or stepping in front of a car. It takes a lot of training, a lot of hard work. And like I said, they're always on. They're always on duty. That's one thing about service dog is they're pretty much always on duty. Where you might get to go home at the end of the day, they don't necessarily get to go home and be off work. They kind of work around the clock. So now we're going to go into, like I said, I'm going to go through some definitions. A lot of this stuff, like I said, is straight off the ADA website, and it's pretty much what they say. So I try not to change anything if I shorten a sentence or something, but other than that, I pretty much try to keep it the way it is. The ADA's definition of a disability. In the context of the ADA, disability is used as a legal term as opposed to a medical one and has a specific definition. So there, like I said, they don't, disability is prescribed, it's more of a legal term than anything else, really. Under the ADA, a person with a disability has a mental or physical impairment that is substantially limits at least one major life activity. This includes individuals who regarded as having, even if they're individuals who are regarded as having, even if their disability is visible, or mental health conditions and learning disabilities. So they may not be, it may not be a visible one. It could be mental health and learning as well. So it's kind of hard to, that's one of the things that kind of makes this hard, is because a mental or a learning disability might not necessarily be able to be physically seen. So having a service dog, it's kind of hard sometimes because people don't look at those as the possibility of needing a service dog. In addition to the ADA, owners of service dogs have rights under the Fair Housing Act and Air Carriers Access Act and various state laws. So they can go on planes, they can be in houses, things of that nature. And I'll get a little bit more into that. Now, what disabilities qualify for service dogs under the ADA? The ADA uses the word disability as a legal term, like I said before, as opposed to a medical one, and has a specific definition, which I read earlier, but I'll read again. A person with a disability is someone who has a mental or physical impairment that substantially limits at least one major life activity. A disabled person can also be a person who has a history or record of such an impairment, or a person who is perceived by others as having one. They don't specifically list out all the types of impairments that qualify as disabilities, but you can go in and research that a little bit more. But like I said, that's, blindness, hearing impaired, PTSD, like severe PTSD that inhibits people, not just like, something scared me and now I need a service dog because something jumped out and scared me. Like if it's, you were in a really high stressful situation, like, when 9/11 hit and buildings came crashing down, you may have PTSD from that. Or if you were in the military and you were in a really bad situation, and so now loud noises are so bad, your PTSD is so bad from the noises and everything that you actually freeze up, and the dogs kind of help with that. Not just because something jumped out, spooked you, and now you're a little bit scared, so you have to have a service dog. There's a difference between that type of PTS service dog and PTS dog for like emotional support. So any questions so far on any of this? I mean, it kind of seems straightforward, but just in case, I just want to stop and give it a second because I do have a few pages to go through here. So all right. So where are service dogs allowed? Basically, any place open to the public. This includes cabin of planes without having to pay a fee. Planes. Now, when you go to get on a plane, a service dog, the one thing they do have to do is they have to submit a completed DOT service animal transportation form to the airline before boarding. The form requires the service dog handler to self-certify that they have a trained service animal. Also requires name of trainer, which can be the owner, and can sometimes ask for the name of the veterinarian, but you don't have to give that. But you can put your own name on there. I'll go into that a little bit more, but you are allowed to be the trainer of your service animal. So, but you have to have this information filled out beforehand. So like I said, it's your DOT transportation form. So they are now allowed, like I said, to be on planes, and that you can't. They can't charge you an extra fee for putting your dog on or anything. He comes on with you. That's just part of it. That's the way it works. So housing, whether so if you're renting someplace or if you live in a city where it has certain regulations on types of breeds of dogs, housing, you're allowed, the dogs are allowed to live with owners free of charge or deposit, even if the building prohibits pets or that breed of pet. So with that being said, like if you're in an apartment complex and you get a service dog and you have a pit bull and they have pit bull, they don't allow pit bulls. That's too bad. They have to, by law, let you stay there, and they can't say, well, because of that I need more money. It doesn't happen that way. So, so with that being said too, that's even if the city you live in prohibits certain breeds of dogs, it doesn't matter if it is a service dog. It does not matter. So it can stay there. Restaurants and hotels, they cannot restrict you to certain areas. So they can't put you like in a pet friendly or pet only area. You basically have to they have to make the accommodation for you. You're allowed to sit, they're allowed to sit with you, but they cannot, they're not supposed to sit in the seat with you or eat while they're with you. So like I said, in hotels can't charge you a deposit fee or any kind of extra fees for having a service dog. This is including, they can't charge you a cleaning fee. Yeah, it's so they can't charge you a cleaning fee either, just from pet hair, but they can charge you if the dog does damages. So if your dog pisses all over the place or eats shit or whatever, you can be charged a fee for damages. So that's something to keep under consideration with your dog. But hopefully, if it's a trained service dog like it's supposed to be, you shouldn't have an issue with that. So say, I have known this, Arizona hates pits. Well, if you could have gotten it certified, if you need a service dog, if you could gotten it certified, you could have had one. Like I said, it doesn't matter what their regulations are. The ADA regulations supersede everybody else. So, like I said, and let's see if I make sure I didn't skip anything. No, okay. I'm working my way through. I got a lot of pages. Sorry, guys. All right, so here we go. Under breeds. Any breed can be a service dog, no matter what housing says or local rules there are. ADA rules take precedent over local rules. So, example, if your city bans a certain breed of dog, that can't be applied to your dog if it's a service dog, which I was just talking about a minute ago. So, under the ADA rules, they can't do anything about it. So, now people say, well, what about, I have all these certain dogs that have all these service vests and all this other kind of stuff. So they have to have a vest, or you have to show ID or something. No, you don't. So under ID, the ADA says items such as vests, ID cards, and special harnesses are not required. Now, the nice thing about them is if you have them, it helps visually so that people kind of already see it. So one, they should hopefully leave your dog alone, because most people should know better than to talk to or pet or inhibit a service dog in any way. So that could also help you without being questioned as well, possibly. Although, like I said, the problem with it is nowadays is you can jump online on Amazon, and even Dana says she can jump on Amazon and she can buy 100 freaking little stickers and slap them all over everything that say service animal, but that doesn't mean it's a service animal. So, so there's a little bit more information under that, but that's the basic thing. It's straightforward. You don't have to. The dogs can go naked without any kind of ID. They don't have to have any markings. Having them just might help. But some people choose to not have it. They don't want it on their dogs. They don't want to bring attention to the dogs any more than they already are. So, all right, training. So, must be under control, on or off leash. ADA rules do not require a professional trainer or complete any specific training program. So you do not have to have a professional trainer or any specific training program. In training, dogs are not given the rights same rights as a trained service dog either. So, like I said, you can train a dog, and I'll go into this a little bit more. This is just kind of breaking into a small little section here. But like I said, you can train it. You don't have to go somewhere and spend 40 grand to get a trained dog. You don't have to go and go through specific services and everything else to be certified or any of that. So, but certain states or certain areas do have regulations concerning in training service dogs. So certain states, if it's in training, they're not allowed the same rights as a trained service dog. So keep that in mind. So if your dog is in training, check your state to make sure that it's okay and that they allow it or not. So, all right, certify or register. So this is about certifying and registering service dogs. You do not need to certify or register, and you cannot be asked for any type of documentation, whether your dog is certified or registered. So you don't have to have it. There's certifications, there's different companies. TDI is one of the big ones that offer certifications for certain dogs and stuff. You don't have to do those. The only thing about those is that they kind of show that at the time your dog was able to do their job when they got certified. So like I said, some owners will certify or register their dogs with an organization, but these documents are optional and do not by themselves convey legal rights under the ADA. So just because you went somewhere and spent thousands of dollars of getting some little certificate and a little thing you can hang and put on the dog and all this kind of crap that says my dog's a certified service dog, that paperwork actually doesn't mean crap. I mean, sorry, but it doesn't hold up in a court of law. It doesn't mean that so your dog still has to be an actual service dog. So if you don't want to spend all that money, you don't have to. If you want to go and do classes, great, because that may help you out. Hopefully, if you have a reputable trainer, then it can help you with your dog and getting him trained better. So, any questions so far? Kind of moving along here a little bit. Like I said, this is all straightforward from everything. So, from the ADA. Also, service dogs, real quick, shouldn't really be carried. It doesn't mean they can't be, but most people don't carry their service dogs or put them in a basket or anything like that because it is supposed to be working. It is not supposed to be toted around like a little kid or anything like that. It doesn't mean that they can't be, but most service dogs won't be carried just because that's, like I said, they have a job to do, which is to be with you and be with, next to you and doing their job, not to be carried around like a little satchel. So, all right. Real quick, I want to see if I got a couple things. I got some side notes and I'll go back over those. I'll kind of go over some things that we did. So, all right. So people want to know, well, how do you tell if it's a service dog or not? Well, you have two questions you can ask, and these are the only two questions that you can ask. And that's only if it's not obvious. Like if you see a guy coming in and he's blind and he's got a dog because he's blind, you can't ask him if if that's a service dog or not. That's you're not able to do that. If it's a visible impairment, you can't ask them if it's a service dog. one, you're just kind of an asshole. I think if you do that, you're just being an ass. So the first question, is the dog a service animal required because of a disability? So is the dog a service animal required because of a disability? That's, plain and simple. And 2, what work or task has the dog been trained to perform? Now, with that being said, they can tell you what job he has to do, but you can't ask for documentation or other questions, or even ask for them to prove that the dog does that job. They have to tell you. So those are the only 2 questions that you can ask. Now, some people say, well, shoot, anybody could say, well, I have seizures and he alerts me to seizures. Well, how do you know? How do you prove that? You can't. That's just the way it is. You have to kind of hopefully go for the benefit of a doubt. But the nice thing is most people who are probably bullshitting you, their dogs are not going to be very well trained. They're going to be carrying them. They're going to be trying to coddle them. You'll see all this stuff. So with that being said, what can you do? Well, one, if the dog's well trained and they're hanging out and they're being good, then, I guess, no worse for wear. But you do have something as a business owner. You can only be asked to remove the dog under limited circumstances. Dog out of control or is not housebroken. So those are 2 right there. So if the dog is up moving around and the owner can't get under control and can't get to lay down, or if it pisses or shits in the restaurant or any place of business, period. Sorry, I use restaurants a lot, but any business that the public is allowed in, service dogs are allowed. So if they're there and they're being unruly, basically, they can be asked to leave. The other one is, you may ask them to leave if the dog's actions are threatening the health and safety of others. Now, that doesn't mean that somebody's afraid of dogs or has an allergy of dogs, so they have to leave. The business has to make accommodations for both parties. So now, but if the dog is growling and barking at people and stuff like that, then that is threatening the safety of other people. So with that said, the dog can be asked to leave. Now, you can't kick out the person, but you can make the dog leave. If the person decides to leave because the dog, that's fine. But that's what you can do. Because like I said, what's nice about it is, more than likely, if somebody's trying to pass off a false service dog, their dog's probably not going to be trained well enough, and they're going to be moving around, getting up, going over here. They're not going to be laying down like they're supposed to be. If people are over there petting all over them and everything else, then, if it's being disruptive, like I said, and not doing their job, you can ask the dog to leave. So a couple of my little side notes. So I know for a little while, one of the things that was pissing me off over this last year was I kept seeing on Facebook, get your dog registered, as a emotional support dog or therapy dog, and legally take them anywhere. That was, that's a sham. I haven't seen it lately. They must have gotten removed possibly because that's simply not true. And I'll go over some more of that stuff too. Now, one of the things, earlier I was talking about with training, and that they don't have to have any certification. You can train them yourself. So a lot of people don't realize that, because all these places have been pumping out all this stuff. You have to be certified. You have to be certified. You have to be certified. Well, you don't. You don't have to be certified. So now, since people are starting to find out more and more that they don't need to be certified, so what do these businesses do now to get their money back? Because they're losing out on thousands of dollars. Because a lot of these service dogs go anywhere from $20,000 to $60,000 fully trained. That's a lot of money. So, what do you do to get people to come in to certify under you? Kind of use a scare tactic. And this kind of pisses me off because it's not right. I've been hearing this probably for the last years. And I was talking to my friend Jim, who's been training for 30 years plus, and he's heard this exact same thing for the last 30 years, and nothing has ever come of it. But trainers are telling people that you should get certified just in case, because the government is working on changing the laws. Well, if you look it up, there is nowhere that I have found where it says the government is looking at changing the laws. If somebody sees that, please send it to me, and I'd like to see it. And I don't want a he said, she said article. I want a government ADA article saying so. But they're trying to tell people, to get them certified, because you never know. If the government changes the law, well, then you're out of luck because you're not certified. Well, my thing is, well, who's to say that the course you took from them, the government, even if they were to change the laws, what's to say that their certification is going to be worth anything? The problem with this is that you're going to have to get everybody on the same page. You're going to have to come up with training styles or a training style, and everybody will have to go to it. Then they're all going to have to go and test. You're going to have to set up a government website. You're going to have to get government employees that come out and test you. It's all this big, huge ordeal. It's just, like I said, it's always been well, so-and-so said. I have never seen or heard anything government-wise that they're going to do this. And besides that, part of me kind of hopes that they don't, because we all know what happens whenever the government gets a hold of something. Because they have to get employees and set up websites and do all this testing and do that. Your $40,000 dog is now going to cost you $80,000, $90,000. The price always goes up because now you have to pay for all these extra certifications and people to be certified to certify you. So, and schooling and everything else. So, yeah, people, well, I'll get on to the emotional support stuff, but yeah, people abusing emotional support animals on flights. You've had a little yappy dog running under your feet from a person 20 feet away. Yeah, well, that's a problem. Like I said, people were trying to bring peacocks on planes and saying that they had to have it. So, but like I said, I have not heard. I've heard this same rumor for the last 20 years or so that I've been training. Jim says he's been hearing it for the last at least 30. Nowhere have I ever seen that it's even coming to light. Just because it would be a logistical nightmare to try to do. And not only that, like I said, if you get a certification under somebody, what's to say that the certification that you got under them is even going to be considered by the government, who, that's okay, that is, that it'll work even. So I tell people, certifications are fine because you get the testing and everything, but you don't have to have it. You just don't have to. So you're able to train your own dog. All right. So every other dog, that is not a service dog, they are not considered service animals under the ADA. No laws protect them. So therapy, emotional comfort, all that stuff, they are not protected under service dog laws. That is just that plain and simple. The only real difference is emotional support dogs. They have a little caveat to it. So one, emotional support dogs or comfort dogs, they are not service animals, but they can or have to be prescribed by mental health professionals. So you can get a subscription for a support animal. Now, a support animal can be, as far as I understood, lizards, goats, other stuff like that. But you have to check into that with the laws and regulations a little bit more on that. Yeah, and registered dog to vote if a government program. Yes, if he's on a government program, you can register him to vote for sure. So but yeah, like I said, mental health professionals prescribe these dogs under ESA law, which is emotional support animal law. And then the other thing is, this covers your thing, Chris. As of January 1st, 2021, airlines are not required to accommodate emotional support dogs because of the big issue they were having with all these emotional support animals and the craziness that went with it. They made it to where now they don't have to allow them. If they choose to, that's up to them, but they don't have to. So they're no longer covered and protected under this. So if you have an emotional support animal, you might want to call ahead and make sure that whether or not they're allowed, but they do not have to allow them on the plane. They may have to fly in cargo like the rest of the animals and subject to the rules and regulations of regular pets. So now, the one thing though where they do have a little bit different than even a therapy dog is on housing. Emotional support animals are provided accommodations under the federal law. Rules such as pet bans or registrations are waived for people with prescriptions for ESA. So if you are prescribed an ESA dog, you can take them. Let's see. Why, my mom says, so why wouldn't people just state them all as service dogs? They could do it. They could try it. It's just a lot of people who are lying and cheating on this stuff, and trying to get away with it, their dogs aren't usually trained. And so they wouldn't get away with it anyways. So, but like I said, with housing, so if you have an apartment or you're renting someplace or whatever, you can't be charged a pet deposit. And because it's a certain breed or whatever, you can't be told, because they don't allow certain breeds in there, that you can't have that. So that is the one thing about, so that's why a lot of people try to get their dogs a prescription for emotional support dog, because then they can take their dog no matter what, even if the apartment has a weight limit of 20 pounds, but yet they have a freaking Great Pyrenees that weighs 150. They still have to be allowed to take the dog into the apartment and can't be charged a pet deposit because of it. So a lot of people try to get that, but I think a lot of doctors are now starting to crack down on that a little bit more because of just because it's getting out of hand. And they're probably afraid that if they just keep writing these things left and right, there's going to be some kind of restriction on them now, and they don't want to get into that. So, yeah. Oh, well, yeah, I would have raised hell too. A dog running around a cabin, making noise and being disruptive. I mean, to me, that's a danger, hopefully the pilot should be able to handle that kind of stuff, but it doesn't matter. That could still be a danger. So, but yeah, like I said, the emotional support dogs, therapy dogs, comfort dogs, they are not service dogs. They actually don't even really have to have any formal training. Therapy dogs and emotional support dogs don't need any kind of documentation except for the prescription for the emotional support dog from the doctor. But therapy dogs and emotional support dogs and comfort dogs and things of that nature don't have to really have any training whatsoever. There's nothing that says they have to be trained. So even therapy dogs, where people, get them registered and everything under certain therapy places, they don't have to have those. It's not something they have to have. Now, some businesses require them because they don't know any better, but also because they probably are hoping that if they've been through training, then and got the certification, then they're a well-mannered dog, which hopefully they should be. But like I said, the thing about these kind of tests is when the test is given to these dogs, it states at this time, this dog passed this test. So it doesn't matter what they did afterwards. They could do anything. That's why, if they don't do any more training and the dog becomes unruly, you got to be careful. That's why they word it that way, because they don't want to say, oh, this dog is an emotional support or this dog is a service dog because of it passed the test. They could be held accountable. So it's at this time. So, that's pretty much it. That's covered my list of everything. Anybody got any questions while I'm waiting to see if anybody's got any questions, I want to thank everybody for being here as usual on Wednesdays. I'll be doing this next Wednesday, of course, at 6. Please like, subscribe, share. If you have any questions or any topics you'd like for me to cover, please put those in the comments below. So just open the window, Chris, and see if they fly. Yeah. Is that kind of like there's a man on the wing of the plane? So, but like I said, I want to thank everybody for being here. Please hit that like button, subscribe button. Next week, this week's topic was asked to be done by my awesome wife, Dana. Next week, I will be covering one that Amanda came up with, how to read stress in dogs. So I'll be covering how to tell if your dog is stressed in a situation. Jeez, maybe I need a drink. Stressed in a situation and what to do about it and how to handle it. So, yeah, like I said, I've been to restaurants and looked around and seen dogs with vests on, and I know that it's not a service dog. You can just look at it and tell the way it's acting. I'm sure everybody has a story or been somewhere where they've seen a dog who obviously isn't one, but the problem is a lot of businesses are afraid to say anything because they're afraid nowadays, like I said, to end up on Twitter or Instagram and becoming a sensation, but in a wrong way, just because it's hard. But like I said, there are some things you can do. One of them, asking the questions, and then if they're unruly and they're not under control, then, then you can ask the dog to leave. So with that being said, just keep that in mind. You do have some things on your side. So don't be afraid to use them. Don't be an asshole about it, but don't be afraid to use it. So, any other questions anybody have? I'm not seeing anything else popping up here, so I'm kind of assuming that was all the questions I have. Like I said, real quick, and I said this several times, and I'm going to say it again here at the end. You can train your own service dog. You do not have to have any certifications at all. You don't have to have them. You just don't have to. People can't make you show them, prove them, or anything. So, you don't have to pay these thousands of dollars. Some people probably prefer to train their own service dogs because they want to start them out as a puppy and bond with them and do the training themselves, because then it hopefully will create a better bond, especially if they need them for a medical reason, like a medical alert service dog. Because if they can start them at a younger age, then it's more of a chance that the dog will learn to alert when something happens to them or before it happens. So like I said, that's also one of the reasons why I can see the government never really putting their hand on something, because not everybody's got 40 grand to spend on a dog for a trained dog. And some people simply want to train, please, they want to, no, hold on a second. Sorry. Chris is in. Oh, thanks, Chris. Chris says, everyone watching, please log in and like. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. But yeah, like I said, it's, they're just not going to be able to, because people want to be able to train their own dogs. And the other thing is, most people don't have 40 grand to just throw around out the window. So, when I was at Lowe's, someone asked me if Noah was a service dog, but he was so well behaved. Well, he's a good boy. So, Mason, no questions. All right. Well, cool. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks for being in. It's a little bit longer than usual, but not by a whole lot. I appreciate you coming on and listening to me talk. Other than that, I will say goodnight to everybody, and I will talk to you later. Bye.